Holy mackerel. Happy Thursday. Welcome back to Coffee Time. Linda, you got it. You are ahead of me. I forgot to post the link. Did I do that? I am so sorry. I know that you will all be finding me quickly and soon because I forgot to post the link. I am so sorry about that. I am going to go ahead as if I wasn't a complete boob and I had set the thing up. Karen, good morning. I am so sorry about that. I figured I just had it in my head. I guess I'm one of those people who thinks when you think something, it actually happens. That wasn't a political joke. Yes, it was. Beverly, great to see you. Good morning. I am so sorry about that. Doreen, Heidi, good morning. I forgot to post. You got it. You got there in the end. I'm still not feeling well, so that's not an excuse. I'm also crazy. Tad, good to see you. Linda B, you found me. I am so sorry about that. It is not my day. It is not my day. Well, maybe it is my day because you found me in the end. It's all going to work out. And we are going to return to our conversation on this month's stellar issue of Rug Hooking Magazine. It's actually a bi-monthly magazine. Sometimes it's a tri-monthly magazine. We are looking at the Duncan rugs from Rug Hooking Magazine, the current issue, which happens to be September, October 2022. And this really is a great volume. We started talking about it a little bit yesterday. We'll certainly return to it next week because I want to remind you that tomorrow is Friday and it is our cocktail night, gallery night. And many of you have been sending your amazing, worthy work. All of it is worthy work. Get it over to me and I'll get it into the show. Even from Belgium, you found me, Heidi. Good job. I couldn't believe it. I sat down. I went, why isn't the thing opening right up? And I thought, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. Oh, Mama is, yeah, I'm not doing overly well. I have to say, I've been sick for a long time, not COVID, but what is going on? We had a great time, I think, yesterday looking at these Duncan rugs. And isn't it always interesting, helpful, fun, and exciting to be looking at a pattern like the Duncan rug and seeing versions by many people of the same rug. It really is when we look at patterns that are done by different people in this manner, this is really the only time that we are comparing apples to apples and saying, I mean, each rug is unique and different and has unique strengths, obviously. But Ryan, great to see you. Cindy, great to see you. Sorry about that. It was me. It was not you. It was me. But it is great to see the different things that people chose because we all have our special wheelhouse where we are strong, right, and comfortable. And then we have places that we would like to adventure into, but are sometimes a little bit prohibitive because, outside of our existing skill set or outside of our experience. So goes for everything in life. Everything works like this, doesn't it? It's fun to look at what different people have done with the same lines because it gives you ideas and I think it gives you courage to try similar things. April, great to see you. Colleen, Lisa, great to see you. I am so sorry about that. That was a bit of a scramble. Ryan says, so excited and a little shy for my first gallery night. Well, you needn't be because I saw the pieces that you sent. And you are going to be a huge hit as you already are. But I know that feeling. And sometimes it's good to feel excited and a little apprehensive, right? Sometimes it's good. So yesterday, hi Stephanie, I'm sorry about that. That was me forgetting to put the link up. Just watching into the thread as as you're having a few conversations. I just want to review what we looked at yesterday because, again, my emphasis today, I'm going to have to leave a little bit early because I have to go get an MRI in about an hour, and I need to drive there. And I don't know if I need to take off my makeup because there's metal in it or God knows what. So I'm gonna end at about 1:15 today. But I want to review the rugs that we looked at yesterday because looking at these Duncan rugs for me is a big deal. And I have one of these Duncan rugs. Duncan is the name of the pattern, and if you weren't with us yesterday, the designer is Pearl McGowan, and we certainly remarked, is there still room for gallery night submissions? April, do it. I'm going to make room. I haven't put it together yet. I'm going to have to put it together tonight because tomorrow is my daughter Jocelyn's birthday, and if you remember from past years, I have a giant carnival in the backyard, which I have not started putting together. So it's going to be a scramble. I'm going to work on gallery night tonight, and if you send it, if you build it, it's going to be there. We're going to see it and enjoy it together. These Duncan rugs are Promogown patterns. We were remarking yesterday that this is not a typical Promogown pattern. We were talking about how this article in Rug Hooking Magazine was written by Kathleen Harwood and Devin Ryder. It is about this this project that this group of hookers in Massachusetts, Vermont did, all hooking this Duncan rug by Promogown, sold by Cushing, right? They have the Promogown patterns. Crystal, good to see you. Sorry about that. Lynn, good morning. Good to see you. Hey, you know what? If you know about any of our buddies who are in Florida, the news has not been good at all. I was absolutely glued to the TV set last night, worrying and wondering. I wrote to a few of our buddies who I know are in Florida from like shipping things to them. So if you know about friends in Florida, feel free to post here. Feel free to post on our wall. I want to stay on top of our friends, make sure everything is okay with them and that they have the things that they need, that they know that we're thinking about them and caring about them. I know internet and power are a huge problem and will be for the foreseeable future. Crazy times. Thank you, Ryan. She's a very excited 8-year-old for one more day. So looking at these Duncan rugs, let's review the ones that we looked at yesterday. Let's look at some of the ones that we've seen together by way of refreshing ourselves. Let me show you the original that got the whole thing started. This is the Eric Sandberg rug. That really is the inspiration. This rug was made in 2013. This is the Duncan pattern, and it is regarded very often as a hit or miss pattern because it can be handled so easily and obviously in this manner. It is a great scrappy pattern to attack with your leftover worms, with your yarn, with bits and pieces. I could see this easily as being a multimedia piece. So far, I haven't seen any of these rugs done in a style where the dots are like Waldoboro or three-dimensional, but I can easily see that too. There is so much directional pull in this pattern that is built in. We keep referring to it as a hit or miss or a quilt-inspired design, and perhaps it is. We said in yesterday's episode, maybe part of the reason that we're seeing this as a log cabin design is because the traditional log cabin quilt block does always or should traditionally have a red center. Home fires burning, right, represented with a red center. This rug certainly does. Not all of them do. They're all quite different and exciting. This rug is the one that Devin Ryder did. This is the opaly purple masterpiece, purpley violets, right? And it has that double border. Remember, each piece is framed, each compartment with that double border. Makes it so striking, really pulls on the whimsy. Rita says, my roof breached in Daytona. So now we start to gather supplies in our bus to bring down. Daytona is being pounded with rain. Whew, okay. Well, thank you for that update. It really is crazy. It really worries me that without that thing called the ozone layer, I'm not going to start. It worries me a lot that we're looking at more of this in the future. Thank you for the update. Let me know how it's going. You have had a lot lately, Rita. Let me know how it's going. We used to live in Fort Myers years ago. That 1 year of my high school career that my dad thought he was Hemingway and he moved the entire family down there. So it makes me so sad to be seeing images, and just because it's places that I recognize easily, you know, that is the least of it. That is the least of it, obviously. It's a very worrying state of affairs for sure. I'm sure we're all watching the same, not the same news maybe, but the same, hopefully, reports. So Devin Ryder's piece, this is really an extraordinary piece. I just love the coolness of this piece. I love the idea of the opal, right? It reminds me of the book The Moonstone, too. Just those kinds of like evening glow colors, right? Very, very whimsical, very, very well done. This was Lita Skilton Ives' piece. And do you remember from yesterday's episode, she passed away in 1988, so this was an older piece. And this is that piece that kind of brought this article to fruition, because this was the piece that was being described between the two authors of this article, Kathleen Harwood and Devin Ryder, describing it and not realizing they were talking about yet another Duncan rug. So one of the sort of great rug hooking coincidences, right? Interesting. This is a very different piece. This is the piece that for me is the most unique in its approach because it is color blocked. It's not just color planned, it's color blocked. And there has been a really thoughtful use of color and movement of color in a very specific and localized way. Color blocks moving from one shade to another, not alternating in a checkerboard manner. Good, Rita. And the dots are handled differently too as outlines. It's very, very different. It almost becomes an optical illusion because the stretch is so pronounced, and I feel that it is hooked more sort of in the manner of a wood block than a traditional hooked rug. Just because of the color changes, it's so different. It's so different. So this is another one that we looked at yesterday. This is Kathleen Harwood's piece. I really loved this piece as well. We loved all of these pieces, but this is the one that really reflected that passion for orange, the tangerine or orange, peel orange in the lighter blocks and the darker blocks. And we remarked yesterday, many of us, about how extraordinary it was to get this much of a spectrum of color. Because these are a lot of repeat colors, the same exact color being present in both the darks and the lights. This is a trick. This is a great thing to practice and to have in your bag of tricks, because it is reminding us that dark lights are lights and light darks are darks, right? That is on its way to becoming a tongue twister. But it is an art principle that you can bend colors. And this is a great rug to regard as an optical illusion because of the play and of the geometry of it, right? Of the soft geometry, of the way that it wobbles. You can look at this as an optical illusion and play those tricks with your eye. Even looking at the oranges, it takes a minute to realize that we are looking at two different shades of oranges. Stephanie says, these shapes remind me of the cobblestone streets in the downtown area of Lincoln, Nebraska. Oh, how fun is that? Isn't that fun? This might be something that's really appealing, right? Really appealing to you. You know, it's also worth saying it's great to work on find a pattern like this that you love. And one of the themes that kept coming up in the Duncan article in this issue of Rug Cooking Magazine is that so many people are not attracted to geometrics, right? I'm one of those people as well. Not that attractive, right? For myself, I love pictorial things. I love figural stuff. I love abstract stuff, but not so much geometrics. But this seems to be the exception for a lot of people because of the way that it wobbles. And I think that that's interesting because it also brings me to the thought that as time and technology march on, God forbid, but they do, with or without us, many of us have become technically very adept. And I think about the things that my buddy Kristen, she's hosting a different hook-in right now, so she's not on with us, but she does a lot on the computer, and she is so smart and savvy on the computer. I could see somebody with more Kirsten skills than Kirsten skills than my skills. I'm sick. You have to give me a carte blanche with a lot of stuff today. Figuring out how to take a geometric pattern and stretch it or pull it in the way that this Duncan is, right? You don't have to be an artist to do this. There's a lot of computer programs I know that can bring you to a place where you have a simple set of very predictable and solid lines, a repeat pattern. And I know a lot of programs will pull and stretch. And you probably know how to do that better than I. But I think it's an interesting prospect to think about looking at geometrics again with fresh eyes, with this information, the experience of having looked at these Duncan rugs together, and to think, well, what have I shied away from the past, right? Have I shied away from doing geometrics because it's not my thing? And if so, can I make it my thing, right? And I am saying thing with an A, just to be stupid. Ryan says, I am not adept with technology, nor am I. But you know, there's always maybe people around who could help. If it's an interesting thing, it's also something that you can do with drawing, right? You can do most things still with a paper and a pencil. It would take a little bit more time, but I'm sure Pearl McGowan did it without a computer, right? But it's interesting to think about breaking down or softening or abstracting this kind of a pattern. Makes me think about the 20th century art, because this piece came out of the 1970s, right? It can't be before the 1970s because it's number 80, what is it, 806, 807, something like that. It's not handy. 809, it's 809. So that is the 1970s number for Pearl McGowan in the catalog, the grand scheme of things. But interesting because, you know, when you see abstraction and the softening of shapes like this, the fluid quality of a geometric, when you change it, it brings us to like Salvador Dali. It brings us to modern art, right? It brings us to 20th century art. Interesting, and it's a kind of a traffic collision, a crazy jam when you mix this with a very rigid geometric, right? Because you've got the geometry of architecture and you've got the softness and the rule breaking of modern art. And those two things together are exciting. So it's not surprising that we enjoy looking at these as much as we do. This example by Pat Dodge, and this is the one that was made for a specific place. And Pat took this piece, changed the shape, hooked part of it, and added these two borders. And yesterday we all remarked that this was just such an inspiration color-wise, using as a base a primary color set, right, which is always going to be very strong. But these are colors are a little bit off primary. They're off center, making it quirky. It's already so quirky, but the addition of the two different borders and this color palette, making it super strong, super quirky, super contemporary. Really lovely piece. We also looked at Linda Faye's piece. This was another one of my favorites. And remember that Linda is not somebody who likes the geometrics. She likes something much more whimsical. She likes to go pretty far out with her work. And she added these purple dots that made her feel happy and within her comfort zone. This has all of the expression and off the beam fun of somebody like Linda, who I know, who loves being off the beam and loves to be in this fun place rather than a rigid place. This one, I think, more than any of the others, shows me fun. This is the one that somebody said, this would be great in a child's room. This just has such a feeling of celebration. It also has a feeling of fine art for me because of the Van Gogh palette. Van Gogh almost always used blue, yellow, orange. And this is maybe more of a tomato red, but also the introduction of the lime green and those two purple dots, so irregular, so kind of mocking, so fun, so come and find me, right? Such a fun piece. And the last piece we looked at yesterday was Trisha Tog Miller's piece. This is this beautiful, mellow, sort of earthy colored interpretation that, remember, Trisha spent some time with Synthropol mellowing these colors, marrying these colors, bringing them down to this palette, which is so comfortable and still challenging, right? There is still a very strong hit or miss quality to this piece with that strong contrast of blacks. It's very dramatic. There is a lot of neutral in here, and it remains mysterious and very dramatic. So much movement, so much color change in a limited palette. It's like magic. How is it done? Well, part of it is instinct, right? Part of it is practice. And a piece like this, the Duncan rug, is a great piece to practice on. All geometrics, all repeat patterns are great pieces to practice on. We have not yet seen an example of the Duncan rug, and my memory's not that good. I don't think we're going to see one in this series that is completely off the wall, where each block is a completely different color. If I get to the Duncan rug, which I hope I do, I have to admit, spoiler alert, that's probably what I'm going to do with it, is go as far as I can. I do like stability in a piece, particularly a piece that moves as much as this one can. So it's going to be a trick in approaching it, and again, God willing, I have the time to do this piece in the near future. It's going to be fun to approach it with this in mind. How do I balance the fun, the whimsy, the play, with keeping it as a stable composition? Because for me, I like a balance. I don't like the pendulum to swing too far in one direction. I like there to still be some continuity and stability. So for me, I'm going to be walking that weird balance being between those two things. Trisha has done a hell of a job balancing right here on this. Sorry for the swear. I tend to say bad words more when I'm not feeling overly well. All right, so moving on to our next piece. We are in new territory now. This is by Barb Ackerman. Hold on one second while I switch my glasses. From Brattleboro, Vermont. I love Brattleboro. Number 7 cut wool on monk's cloth. Barb's favorite thing about her rug is the colors, red and purple, which make her think of the poem, "When I am an old woman, I shall wear purple." Such a classic, such a great favorite, right? We all know that poem, and I'm sure love it as well. I love those colors for the same reason. The Red Hat Society too, all that goes with it, right? And it reminds her of her grandmother. It reminds her of a rug that her grandmother hooked. She neither dyed nor purchased wool, but gathered reds and purples from her stash, worms and pieces. Partway through hooking, she realized that she could run out of some scraps, and had the very sensible idea to deal out her worms and scraps in the same number of piles as the remaining squares. Oh, we're getting into mathematics here. To distribute her leftovers throughout the rug and maintain the continuity of variety she had established. Great tip, Barb. Absolutely. Remember, these photographs are by Chris McDermott, and these are in the current issue of Rug Cooking Magazine. That is a great tip, and that makes a lot of common sense. This is something to think about, and I'm going to come back to this slide, of course, and we're going to look at it close up too. But when you think about all of the coffee times, we are like heading toward 500 coffee times and cocktail times at this point. When you think of all the times that we have said, looking at older antique rugs, like 19th century rugs, that it is always interesting to see the difference between, in terms of the way that the person worked, right? And we are always talking about, with very, very few exceptions, some anonymous person from way back when, the way that they worked. And what I mean is, did they completely run out of colors partway and start color blocking out because they didn't see any other choices? Or did they try to do that more marble cake look where they are using what they have left and try to do exactly what Barb did and ration out what's left over, being smart and bringing some of those colors to the other parts of the rug that haven't been dealt with yet? Do you do one or the other, right? Because this is a choice. I'm presenting you, like life and common sense presents you with this choice. Are you going to, when you work yourself into a corner like this and you say, God, I thought I had more orange, but I don't, and you are not prepared to die or to go shopping for some more, are you going to close up the shop and just finish that part of what you're working on and think about the next stage? What will I do in those next compartments because now I am out of material, right? Or are you the person who kind of rations and says, I'm going to stop where I am right here and I'm going to figure out how much more I need and try to ration out some to go to other parts of the rug? There is no right way, but I will say that when you are using repeat colors, the exact shade of a color, it is often helpful to drag your eye, carry your eye, guide your eye to different parts of the rug. And you can do that with color. Color can do that with you. So it is not a bad thing. So I guess I'm showing that I lean more toward what Barb has done and dragging a little bit of whatever color I have left to different places just to ensure that I'm setting up a composition where the eye will travel, right? Because that color is present throughout. The more old-fashioned approach is to keep going and to deal with it later, right? There are two kinds of people in the world, right? And I'm not going to say who I've had this conversation with because it's a family member, and I don't think she watches. And there is no wrong way. Okay, it's my mother-in-law. But she has this approach to life that she tackles a problem when it befalls her. So she doesn't worry about the problem until it happens, right? And she thinks it's like quite sort of American of me, and maybe it is, to be constantly worried about problems. And this isn't a good thing either, right? Because for me, I worry all the time, and that's why I never sleep, and I'm rarely well. But it's two different mindsets, isn't it? And you have to do what makes sense for you. But in terms of rug hooking, it's the same story. Two roads diverge in a yellow wood, and you need to figure out which one you travel on because neither one is wrong. It is always interesting to think about and talk about how other people work. Barb came to that place in the yellow wood and she decided that her best course of action was to divide things up mathematically to make sure that she could sprinkle what she had left over into the rest of the rug, right? And then shore up whatever was left with similar colors, light colors, and maybe introducing completely different colors. And you can see that the result is absolutely stellar. This is a super exciting, let me bring you in for a close-up too, a super exciting rug. Red and purple are two of my favorite colors, so this really appeals to me just in terms of the color palette. I'm already sold. I'm already in love. I love seeing many shades of red together too. This is particularly when it crosses over to persimmon and orange and tomato soup and all of that stuff. So beautiful. I think that the black is, I think that the outlining is done in black, although in this photo it almost looks like an evergreen. I would love it both ways. Either way would be great for me. Of course, you could switch out as you go. If you handle a composition like this Duncan rug or something like this, and you do plan to shape out the composition with outlining, right, very graphic outlining throughout, it is an idea that not just within the compartments, but in the outlining itself, it is possible to move from color to color. You can do the whole thing black or dark gray or navy blue or eggplant, or you can mix all your dark ups in the outline. it is going to create a different look, but it is going to be consistent the same way we are seeing checkerboard colors in these Duncan rugs. The background or sort of lining, outlining would work the same way. This is just a beautiful rug. Dark, light, dull, bright, right? Exciting. They're all exciting. You know, I wonder, I don't know if anyone's on who belongs to any of these rugs and worked on this project. I wonder if you all worked on this together, like in the same room, and kind of compared notes as you went. I just wonder. So Barb Ackerman's was absolutely amazing. This one is by Ann Cairns, Cairns of Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, number 6 cut wool on linen. Now, have you noticed that, of course, coming back to Anne's rug, have you noticed, and this question came up yesterday, the different cuts and the different backings? I have noticed a lot of number 7, number 8 cuts on monk's cloth. And I just want to point out for people who are completely new to this, that I'm just pointing it out, that monk's cloth is one of the tighter backings, right? Rug warp and monk's cloth are the tighter backings. Burlap and linen are the looser backings. So when you are using a cut like an 8 on a large scale rug like the Duncan, in monk's cloth or rug warp, but in this case I think we've only seen monk's cloth and linen, it is likely that you could run into a problem where your hand gets sore or your wrist, because an 8 is a primitive cut and it's quite a wide cut to pull through monk's cloth. Now, I do it all the time. I'm doing it right now in the piece I'm working on right now, but I am feeling it a little bit in my wrist. And I know this, and I keep forgetting. And one of the things I've been doing to accommodate that is I haven't cut all my wool yet, so I'm cutting some of it to a 5. So I'm doing some parts in a 5 and the rest of it in 8. I already cut a bunch of 8, so I'm using them. I'm not going to waste them. I'm using them. But it is a thing. So beginners, think about that. You want to set up a situation, particularly when you're starting this craft, where you're not having any kinds of physical problems with your tools, with your setup. It can be. It's not a guarantee by any means, but it can be tougher to pull through a wider cut like an 8 through monk's cloth. So what made me think of that is, oops, sorry, wrong window. There's Tara. Sorry about that. Yikes. I got to update my view here. In the case of Anne's, she's using a number 6 cut, which is kind of in the middle, like 5, 6 is right in the middle, and she's using linen. So that says to me that this pattern, I think mine is on linen. This pattern you can order through Cushing. It must be available both on linen and monk's cloth. So it would be up to you if you were going to do this exact one. If you were going to do it on monk's cloth and you were a beginner, I would personally recommend as a teacher doing it with maybe don't start with an 8 cut, but do a little bit of a more narrow cut, more like a 5, 6, just to get going, so you don't encounter that and immediately start having that thought, I'm no good at this. This doesn't work for me. There's something wrong with me, right? Because sometimes, for people who've been doing this for a while, these things become second nature and you just plow through. That was just a bit of a disclaimer. Anne's rug is absolutely stellar. Number 6 cut on wool on linen. Anne's rug is another different, not a checkerboard Duncan. She used her collection of red and pinks as a springboard and then went with a kind of triadic color plan in a hit or miss rug. She remained conscious of the effect of warm tones for the squares and cooler colors for the circles, and is happy with her choice of golden mustard for outlining, which, with the squares with stripes, she emphasizes the curves of this rug. She also scattered the colors of the circles so that they would be random and not predictable. That really is brilliant. I love, this is a very rich color palette, isn't it? Ryan says, now when working on projects, I always hear Deanna saying dark, light, dull, bright. Good, good. Because sometimes it helps. Sometimes it's that thing that you're about to grab for one color and you grab a different one because that DLDB goes through your head. And if that bails you out of like a persnickety kind of situation one time out of a lifetime, then it is worth repeating, right? I love the rich color palette on this. So many warm colors, and I didn't realize until I read that snippet. Yeah, the dots are the cooler colors, and the background is the warmer color palette, the yellows and the reds. Really, really stunning. There's a lot going on here. It is a limited color palette again, but so many colors. Let's just look at the warms for now and think about how smart it was to using this many, of the darker tomato soup reds, all the different families of red. It's a lot of different reds that makes such a great impact, such a good punch, and it goes so well alongside the mustard, sort of antique gold color. That is absolutely brilliant. And that same color, right, carried onto a very thin border, very stable border, very, very smart color choices. I absolutely love that it's not a checkerboard because somehow it highlights the amount of reds in this, right? Your eye travels and wiggles all over the place. It is fun. It is festive. It's exciting. It's a bit royal and regal. It's got an amazing charm to it. I love how some of the blocks, the stripes are very prominent and in others completely solid. That is another way of using variety, right? Talking about the dots, they are many different colors. It keeps your eye jumping, but so do the stripes, the unpredictable stripes, the different directions of the stripes, and the fact that not every compartment has a stripe, right? So interesting. So, for a repeat pattern that is a bunch of lines that are kind of the same, we are seeing some extraordinary interpretations. We're seeing some great directions that one can go in approaching a rug like this. There are so many choices, right? Even with a repeat like this, you need a DLDB tattoo. Amanda, don't get me started. That's a great idea. That is a great idea. Karen, great to see you. This one glows. Yeah, this one does glow. There is nothing in my mind like periwinkle against tomato soup. I mean, that color, that's one of my favorite color combinations. Also against the eggplant. This is another one of the Duncan rugs that really reminds me that optical illusions within rug hooking are not often enough. We don't see them enough. We don't talk about them enough. They don't happen enough. These great optical illusions where some of the circles look larger than others just because of the background color and the color of the circle itself. It's so exciting. This one jumps and moves, and it does look like it's handled in a hit or miss way. We do get some runs of the same color, right? It's almost like a Scrabble board when someone's losing and they're a poor sport and they start to upset the thing and all the squares start to shift, right? You lose that kind of continuity. Because this one's not a checkerboard, it has that feel for me. It has the feel of sitting on a picnic table with a Scrabble board and a couple glasses of wine and getting quite upset. But I just love the movement. The movement shows more for me in this one than in the checkerboards for some reason, and I think part of that is the jumping circles. What was that game? Tiddledywinks or something like that, right? All of those discs landing in different places, right? This one has so much fun, so much play, so much thought and smarts going into it in terms of color placement, use of color, contrast, and just that background, that lattice of gold really gives it this jewel-like quality. If that outlining was done in black, it would be very strong and graphic. It would be very lovely and a dramatic statement. But the fact that it's done in the gold gives it to me more of a feeling of jewelry or stained glass. It gives it glow was the right word, Karen. It gives it a glow. It really is smart. It's something to think about and revisit. When you are about to lay down an outlining color, stop yourself first and say, do I really want black? Think about what you're about to do after that. Do I really want black? Shake it up. Doesn't mean that you have to choose white. Think of every single other color that you can think of. And if you are at a loss or you're just not in that place of great inspiration, drag yourself over to the hardware store and just stand in front of that wall of paint chips and see if anything just whispers to you, right? Because your choices are infinite, absolutely infinite. Let's come in a little bit closer to this piece and see what we can see. So this is a great close-up, same piece, Anne Cairns, looking at the different background colors, looking at the way that some of the backgrounds are solid and others are striped out in a very clean stripe, very tidy. You could see that close-up view of how the outline is really working. Was working overtime to pop this piece. Super fun piece. So let's move to our next one. I think we got a couple more, and I know I can do it. I'm going to do it. Gosh, I don't think we've seen this one yet. Okay, so this one is by Suzanne Flint of Dummerston, Vermont. This is a number 7 cut wool on linen. Suzanne's modern Duncan was carefully thought out, often hooked as a hit or miss checkerboard. The pattern is also striking when structured with care and 3 or more colors to maximize its graphic impact. Amen to that. Suzanne's rug was made as a wedding gift for her daughter and soon-to-be son-in-law, who have distinctly contemporary taste and love of orange. She plotted a graph, worked with colorful pencils, carefully annotated her linen, and hooked a meticulous Duncan in multiple shades of oranges, blues, greens, with wool from Fluff and Peachy Bean. I love Fluff and Peachy Bean. Which she admits are totally not on her radar. Her favorite part of Duncan, its dynamic movement. So that is something that we are getting again and again. Getting this great feedback in the text of this article. And by the way, a huge complimentary shout out to Rug Cooking Magazine for producing this feature in full-size images. We don't often get full-size images in Rug Cooking Magazine. We do in Celebration, but not Rug Cooking. It is real. All of them are full-size, and it makes a big deal because your eye can really get in there and travel. This is the absolute perfect article to have done this, right? Huge blow-ups on every page. Oh, you got a jet, Ryan. We'll see you tomorrow for gallery night. Can't wait. So all these points that are being made about Suzanne's interpretation are so good and so true. It looks more red to me. I think that has to be the way the colors turned out, but I love that it's orangey. Orangey, of course, is going to work so well with the blues and the greens. It is a limited color palette, but look closely because there are more than one shades of several of these colors. We are seeing color movement and color shift within the blues, right? Also within the greens. And we are seeing completely different shades of the orange, which are reading on the monitor as red. We are also seeing different colors in the dots, right? We're seeing some kind of celery or celadon dots. We're also seeing a much darker, grassy kind of a forest green dot. So there is a lot of color movement, and I can really appreciate the amount of thought and planning that went into this rug. Now, this version, Suzanne Flint's version of Duncan, for me, reads a lot like a plaid. So if you think about plaids and tartans and the way that they work, right, as woven materials, you look across one color and you see where it crosses its sort of north-south counterpart, right? And you check all of these sort of junctions where colors meet, and you do get very reliable meet-ups of the same colors. Well, that's what's happening here. So for me, it is reading like a very strong and jazzy, very stylish and unpredictable plaid. But because the color placement is done in such an intentional, careful, and consistent way, you can get this kind of play. You can get this regularity that is very stable, but still very exciting. The color choices are exciting. It is masterfully hooked. It is beautifully thought out. And it has sort of a Russian nesting doll pattern within a pattern because the color placement is very specific. So this is another direction that you can go in. You can layer out your color planning as carefully and finely as what Suzanne has done here and get a piece that is very structured, right? And being structured does not take away from the fun and spontaneity of it, right? It adds something to it. It adds a layer of structure and patterning that isn't always there and doesn't have to be there, but it's just another really lovely example. Close up. So this is a close up again of Suzanne Flint's Duncan. Really, really lovely. We've got, I think, 2 more. I better hurry up a little bit. So, or this might be, actually, I think this is the last one. This is another one done by Kathleen Harwood. I did not realize. South Hadley, Massachusetts, number 8 cut wool on linen. And again, she is one of the co-authors, along with Devin Ryder, of this article. Kathleen wrote, I began Duncan Duncan 2. So this is the second one she did in March of 2020, and I knew it would be a COVID memorial rug. My challenge was to make it somber but not sad. I often cried during those months, but hooking, as always, was wonderful therapy. I had lots of green and red wools, the classic great combination, that's right, and threw in the bright purple outlines at the last minute just because. The dark circles honored deaths of the 100,000, 500,000 when I finished the rug, 1 million when this article appeared in Rug Cooking magazine. The gold and pale yellow suns and moons represent hope for the future. My favorite part, what I love about every Duncan, the wonderful movement and the dynamic composition. Again, reminder that these photographs are all done by Chris McDermott. I absolutely love everything about this rug. And, you know, I might strike out and say I think this is my favorite. I just, color-wise, this one speaks to me in a crazy way. And this one has embedded symbolism that we know and we've heard and we now understand. And that's so meaningful. It hits you right in the throat, doesn't it? It's so, so meaningful. Love the color changes in this. This is a great example for me of dark, light, dull, bright. My favorite part of this interpretation, I think, are the colors of the dots fighting with or dancing with, singing with the purple outline. Unexpected opposites working together, right? There's a lot of unity in this rug. It is a checkerboard approach, but we have a lot of irregular dots in the background. Let your eye search around a little bit for the purple sort of indigo colors that are popping up. There's one toward the bottom right that it looks way more of a sort of blueberry or grape juice color than the others. I love the play of the dark, the lights, the unexpected. I love the colors in general, right, throughout this entire rug. Let's look a little bit closer up. And that drab color, that green kind of mossy drab color, is such a great neutral. We always talk about neutral colors, and we rarely talk about the shades of green that perform as neutrals and are fantastic to think about using as a neutral, because you do need a dull. And for me in this rug, that green color is working as the dull. Super unexpected, super bright, wonderful movement, a little less of that hit or miss, the many color striations, right? We're looking more at solids with a few pops of different colors. Exciting. Looks like a lot of textured wool in here. Exciting. It's all exciting. I love that color of purple, right? That is just the purple outline with that kind of heading toward cranberry red color. For me is unreal. It's just unreal. I just love this rug. I love all of the Duncan rugs. I just want to check and be sure. Nope, that's the next one. That's Haley's article, my friend Haley Perry of Loop by Loop. We will be looking at that on Monday when we come back to coffee time. But I have got to get going, so I'm not late for my appointment. You get in all kinds of trouble these days when you're late for appointments, and then you have to wait until your head's hanging off to get another appointment. So I really loved looking at the Duncan rugs, and we are not done with this issue of Rug Cooking Magazine by any means. I'm not going to look at every part of it and do a massive spoiler alert, but I do want to visit, again, that primalistic rug cooking article in it, and I definitely want to visit my friend Haley's article. She does a lot of super contemporary kind of avant-garde shaped pieces. That's another huge favorite of mine in this article. There's a couple more articles I want to look at with you in this issue. So have a great afternoon, everybody. I will be with you tomorrow night for cocktail night. And if you do have more gallery pieces that you would like to send, please send them. I will put as many as I can. April, I will certainly put yours. I'll put as many of them into the body of the show tomorrow as I can. And in the meantime, you can look out for posts and stuff if you're friends with me personally on Facebook, and I hope you are. I'll be posting some pictures setting up for Jocelyn's birthday party tomorrow. I can't believe she is turning 9. Talk about wanting to cry. I don't need much these days to get me going, but just the fact that the time is just going so fast. So wish me luck for my appointment today, and I will see you all tomorrow night for cocktail night. Send anything that you want to me at ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. Please like, subscribe, think about becoming a Patreon supporter. I run the show 3 times a week. It is a lot of fun, but it's a huge part of my day. I will look out for, thank you so much, for all of, thank you. Oh, thank you so much, Heidi. I will look out for all of that stuff, and I will look out for you tomorrow night at 7 p.m.